It's showtime. Buckle up, Buttercups. Let's go. I'm Rex Bear, League Project. How the heck are you? So much news. And let's break it down rapid fire style. And thank you very much for being here with me. It looks like we've got some awesome people in the chat already. Much appreciated. We've got Soul, Armitage, and DC, amongst others. Thank you for being here. But let's just jump right in because, wow, escalations. Things have escalated quickly. I'm quite surprised how quick things are going right now. But in this episode, we break down the latest geopolitical flashpoints, including reports that President Trump is openly discussing military options to take Greenland, triggering alarm bells across NATO. Denmark warns it will defend its sovereignty while U.S. allies push back against what they see as a dangerous precedent. We also examine threats of U.S. military action against Colombia, retaliatory warnings from Latin American leaders, and a surge in oil tanker seizures tied to Venezuela and Russia, signaling a shift towards aggressive enemy control. Meanwhile, AI researchers warn that artificial intelligence can now design viruses from scratch, as leading experts and Elon Musk declare we have entered the singularity. Are we prepared for systems that show signs of self-preservation? Well, we're going to talk about it. Also, Taiwan grounds its fleet of F-16s after a jet disappears. China unveils drone-killing microwave weapons. Earth's magnetic field is weakening further. Antarctica's doomsday glacier shakes with seismic activity. Airspace shuts down in Greece. Biometric surveillance at grocery stores. Pesticide bans. Yay! And rare good news stories that the media isn't covering. It's not speculation. Well, some of it is, because obviously I'm going to share the news with you, and I've got some speculation to talk about. Well, we're going to look at the data. We're going to look at the information. And on that note, have you seen the price of gold and silver and precious metals lately? Even copper. Wow, that's what I'm talking about. So, big fan of precious metals. I'm a silver tard. I love gold. I love platinum. I mean, I don't want to say I love, but you know what I mean. So anyway, if you're over 40 and you're planning to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. And here's the question most people never ask. Is your portfolio built for what's coming next? Many investors in their 40s and 50s discover they have little to no exposure to precious metals. That means their savings are largely tied to markets, policies, and paper assets with very little protection if conditions change. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've already built becomes just as important as growing it. That's why Noble Gold Investments, or should I say that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in, helping investors reduce risk by adding physical gold to their portfolios. Right now may be a smart time to talk with Noble Gold Investments. No pressure, no sales gimmicks, just clear answers and a strategy built around your goals. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Build your portfolio for the long term. Noblegoldinvestments.com, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Tons of 5-star reviews. And you can call them at 877-646-5347. And check this out. This is a bonus for Leak Project listeners. If you call up Noble Gold Investments, say, hey, how do I get a 3-ounce American Virtues Independence silver round? I want one. Well, they'll share with you how to get one of these things for free when you open a new account, qualified accounts. Find out how. Noble Gold Investments. Let them know Rex from Leak Project sent you. And Alien Allen, great to see you. How the heck are you? Mike's good to see you. Robert, how are you? Let's get into it. So I've even got tabs. Yeah, got about 32 tabs opened up, actually, because last time I did a report, somebody was saying, Rex, do you think you can show the news articles specifically when we talk about some of this? Yes, we can. I'm here to help. I'm with the government. All right, here we go. Check it out. Boom. We just look at it. The first article, White House, Trump discussing a range of options to take Greenland. Politico. What Trump wants from Venezuela and Greenland. So what does that actually mean? Well, according to the latest reports, the White House confirmed that President Donald Trump is actively exploring a spectrum of strategies to bring Greenland under U.S. control, explicitly including the option of using the U.S. military if other approaches fail. Officials describe this as part of a broader strategic thinking about the Arctic. Here's some key details. Trump and senior aides are framing Greenland as a critical national security priority to counter China and Russia in the Arctic. Options discussed reportedly include diplomatic purchase proposals. They want to buy it. Negotiating a political status change or military enforcement. Although senior State Department voices emphasize diplomatic solutions, the White House statement stressed that military force remains always an option in the commander-in-chief's toolkit, a departure from typical diplomatic rhetoric. The debate escalated in the context of recent U.S. military operations elsewhere, Venezuelan leadership detention, which critics link to renewed aggression towards overseas territories. And let's talk about that for a minute. Did you see the photos of Maduro? I mean, it looks like he's getting ready to go golfing, or he's getting ready to go to the latest theme park. He doesn't look freaked out. He doesn't look like he just got taken out of his country as the leader. It's really weird. And the photos, the one photo where they allegedly captured him, there's two special forces flanked on each side of him. That photo looks like it's from a 1987 Polaroid. I mean, it's just weird. I've read a lot of people questioning those photos. Very odd. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast. Greenland does have strategic importance for missiles and missile defense, Arctic surveillance, rare earth mineral resources, and control of the GI-UK gap, which is a key naval monitoring route. A shift in its governance would represent unprecedented expansion of U.S. territory and strategic footprint with profound legal and alliance implications. So what do you think about this? I think even Greenland's divided. The people of Greenland are divided. Some of them are like, yeah, let's do it. And others are like, no, we're happy where we're at. We don't want anything to do with those Yanks. I've got a friend actually that lives in Denmark, and he's not happy about the administration's talks of taking over Greenland. Very interesting, regardless. I think that, wouldn't we be able to build up a portion with military forces and military technologies without actually usurping Greenland? Just a question that comes to mind. I know that there's a base out under the ice in Greenland that's 80 years old, and it's already like 100 feet under ice or something like that. So obviously it's pretty intense out there. But anyway, just something to think about. And the next article, boom, Denmark will shoot first and ask questions later over Greenland, the Telegraph. Well, that's pretty intense. Denmark's military posture towards Greenland has been starkly articulated. Copenhagen says it would use force immediately to defend the island's sovereignty against any unauthorized incursion, implicitly including potential U.S. action. Danish officials stated that military units and doctrine are prepared to act first to protect the territory if needed. The statement came amid unusually heated remarks following President Trump's revival of acquisition talks, with Copenhagen saying it crosses red lines. This rhetorical escalation, highlights a deep divide, not just between U.S. and European capitals, but also with NATO itself. Denmark's declaration signals that even allies may be prepared to resist U.S. military action, an extraordinary development with potential to fracture NATO unity if rhetorical brinkmanship is pursued. Now, I would actually say that could be something that would fracture NATO, potentially, if the U.S. decided, hey, we're taking it. Thanks. Militarily speaking, I don't think NATO would appreciate that. But what would they do? And are we on the cusp of leaving NATO anyway? It seems like it. But, this could just be the art of the deal again, creating fear in the masses of change when in reality, they just want to keep things the same, but they just want more money. I don't know. Just came to mind, but I'll keep you posted on that. There was also a intel briefing saying that the U.S. could potentially be an enemy that Denmark came out with, I thought. Denmark intel, U.S. could be a threat. Yeah, Danish intelligence report warns of U.S. military threat In a recent annual threat assessment, the Danish Defense Intelligence Service for the first time labeled the United States as a potential security concern. Security concern, let me rephrase that. A security concern, not a threat, but a security concern. The report released December 2025 cited shifts in U.S. foreign policy, particularly under the Trump administration, as creating new uncertainties for Denmark and Europe. Use of force and economic power. The DDIS warned that the U.S. is using its economic power, including threats of high tariffs, to enforce its will and no longer rules out the use of military force, even against allies. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll keep you posted on that. And don't worry if you're concerned about Greenland being usurped by the U.S. Don't worry, because Senator Rand Paul recently stated, "I will do everything in my power to stop any kind of military takeover in Greenland." In an interview on CBS News, this statement came amid a renewed push by the Trump administration to explore options for acquiring the self-governing Danish territory, including potentially using military force. So he is opposed strongly to military action. Paul, a Republican from Kentucky and a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, is a long-standing opponent of offensive U.S. military actions overseas without a formal congressional declaration of war. Constitutional authority. He stresses the importance of maintaining Congress' constitutional authority to declare war and views the debate over potential action in Greenland as an important constitutional one. So, Paul is not opposed to the U.S. acquiring Greenland through a voluntary purchase, similar to the Louisiana Purchase or Alaska acquisition. However, he argues such a move would require the approval of Greenland's population and be achieved through diplomacy and mutual agreement, not force. Let us just buy it off of you. Why not? Trump suggests the U.S. could take action against other countries after the successful capture of Maduro. New York Times. Let's take a look at this real quick. Beyond Greenland, President Trump reportedly signaled that similar thinking about assertive or coercive foreign policy could extend to other nations deemed strategically important, reflecting a broader shift towards interventionism. Comments linked to President Trump's renewed push on Greenland have reportedly emboldened rhetoric about taking action in other geopolitical theaters. Specific countries weren't always named, but context includes Latin America and resource-rich or rival-influence regions. If accurate, this suggests Trump's foreign policy doctrine may be evolving into a more aggressive posture where influence is pursued through direct pressure or force with limited regard for traditional diplomacy. Well, I remember Pete Hegseth, the speech that he gave a few months ago when all the generals were gathered in their masses from around the world. And in that speech, that's basically one of the things that he said. So just go back and listen to the speech. It's right there. It's going to get very interesting. It's going to get very interesting in Colombia and Cuba. And Colombian president, so Trump has threatened Colombia with military action, and Colombian president responds. President Trump's publicly threatened military intervention in Colombia escalated by the Colombian president stating he would take up arms again if U.S. forces entered Colombian territory. The U.S. threat reportedly stems from disputes over drug trafficking, security cooperation, and geopolitical positioning. Colombia's chief executive responded by invoking historical resistance and readiness to defend sovereignty. This represents not just rhetoric, but direct confrontation with a longtime U.S. ally in Latin America, raising the risk of conflict in a region historically sensitive to U.S. military involvement. We'll keep you posted. Senator Rick Scott says Cuban government will be overthrown this year or next. The Hill. Senator Rick Scott publicly predicted that the Cuban government will collapse or be overthrown within 12 to 24 months due to internal pressures and U.S. sanctions. Scott framed this as inevitable due to economic and political strain on Havana. Critics say such rhetoric fuels instability and signals possible increased U.S. pressure, and analysts caution that such predictions oversimplify a complex situation. Statements from a U.S. senator, senior U.S. senator, hint at potential regime change narratives that could presage policy shifts or greater interventionist activity. You don't say. That would be interesting. That'd be very interesting. That's actually one of the the forecast, one of the predictions I made for this year is Colombia would have a new leader, and that we would do some type of special operations actions in Cuba. So we'll see what happens. Now, this is very interesting, and I think that this needs a lot more research, and a lot more people should be aware of this, because this is huge. A large, mysterious weak spot in Earth's magnetic field, which is called the South Atlantic Anomaly, has grown significantly, expanding by an area almost half the size of Europe. And this is in the past 12 years. This is since 2014. It now shows a second lobe over Africa, posing risks to satellites as it weakens the planet's protection from solar radiation. According to recent data from the European Space Agency's swarm satellites, this anomaly, caused by complex processes deep in the planet's core, is expanding eastward and potentially splitting, with scientists observing dynamic changes that highlight the field's fluctuating nature. It's centered over the South Atlantic Ocean. It's growing and shifting eastward towards Africa, with a new rapidly weakening area appearing over the continent. Also, isn't there some news out there about how Africa is splitting? The continent of Africa is splitting. And there's also the reports that should have made front page news all over the world, but it made like CNN news. And then people didn't really talk about it much. I reported on it several times. I think it's a huge story, but the Earth's magnetic core has slowed and potentially reversed. Yes, I know I misspelled that one word. Here it is right here. Boom. I think this is connected, absolutely connected to the reports of this Atlantic anomaly. Recent studies confirms Earth's solid inner core has significantly slowed its differential rotation relative to the surface, pausing and potentially beginning to spin in the opposite direction. They say it's a 7-year cycle. They say it's a normal internal process, not an immediate magnetic pole reversal, which is separate, much longer-term geological event. Scientists monitor seismic waves from earthquakes to track these shifts in the inner core's spin, which interacts with the liquid outer core and mantle, potentially influencing the magnetic field over millennia. So I think there's a direct connection there, and this South Atlantic anomaly weak spot. Now, the South Atlantic anomaly has existed for centuries, but recent monitoring shows accelerated changes, leading to theories about its role in potential magnetic pole reversals. Yeah. Did you hear about this? AP News. The U.S. will exit 66 international organizations as it further retreats from global cooperation. The U.S. government confirmed plans to withdraw from 66 international organizations. Do you like that, 66? Well, I had 66 forecasts yesterday, so yeah, full Illuminati. Continuing a broad retreat from multilateral governance, these include agencies tied to climate policy, global development, public health coordination, and international arbitration. Officials argue the organizations are inefficient, biased against U.S. interests, or infringe on national sovereignty. Funding withdrawals are expected to total billions of dollars annually. Billions of dollars every year. Some exits require congressional notification, but not approval. And this represents a structural shift away from global cooperation towards unilateral or bilateral power projection, weakening international norms and increasing geopolitical fragmentation. Nationalism. We talked about it. Trump predicts impeachment if Republicans lose midterms. NBC News. Did you read about this? So President Trump publicly stated he expects to be impeached if Republicans lose control of Congress in the upcoming midterm elections. President Trump framed impeachment as politically motivated retaliation. Democratic leaders have not formally committed, but have kept investigations open, and the statement suggests the White House is already bracing for legislative warfare, signaling deepening domestic instability, legislative paralysis, and prolonged political conflict. regardless of election outcomes. Isn't the government shutdown also coming up, or at least the conflict? What would be the right way to term this? Let me see here. Government shutdown looms. Yeah, boom. 1 day ago. Hot off the press. Washington Post. Congress has 4 weeks to dodge another shutdown. On the Hill, possibility of another government shutdown looms. America's essential hospitals. Democrats shift strategy to prevent U.S. government shutdown by negotiating. WCNC. Yeah. Every year, same old, same old. It's like two competing sports teams like that have to win. It's not the American people that win. It's one of the sports teams. It's the Republicans or the Democrats, but one of them has to win. And they say they care about the American people, but do they really do they really care? Or do you think they care more about their political party? Because it seems like when I watch these guys and gals up there and they brag about how much they care about the American people, they brag about how much they want the people to be protected and have all these rights and freedoms. But do they really care? I hope so. I hope so. But anyway, that's for a whole other podcast. This is terrible news. AP News. ICE officer kills a Minneapolis driver in a deadly start to Trump's latest immigration crackdown. So, an ICE officer fatally shot a driver during an immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis, triggering investigations and protests. The shooting occurred during a vehicle stop tied to deportation operations. The officer claimed the driver attempted to flee. Body cam footage is under review. Local officials criticized federal agents operating without coordination, and this incident escalates tensions over federal immigration enforcement, civil liberties, and the militarization of domestic policing. Now, I would like to say I have seen the division already over this event. Like, this is fuel for the flames. You've got the extreme left and the extreme right commenting about why it was or why it wasn't authorized. And it's pretty unsettling for me when people kind of freak me out, folks, because social media, people just say whatever the hell they want half the time. And they're so extreme oftentimes in social media. Not everybody. I mean, there's, but it's the extremes that get the publicity, it seems, on one side or the other. The whole thing is rotten. The whole situation's rotten. And to look at it as a left or right paradigm thing and to point, all it's doing is more people are pointing fingers. This could be used for a mass protest situation. I could see how both sides of the political spectrum can use this as a political tool for fuel on the flames, for more division. It's terrible what happened. Any way you look at it, it sucks. It sucks for the people involved, for everybody involved, especially the families that lost a loved one. But you know what? This is also going to suck for the guy that shot her. Can you imagine how much crap this guy's going to get now the rest of his life? And he's going to have to sleep. He's going to have to sleep with that and wake up to that for the rest of his life. It sucks for everybody. And it's also going to suck for ICE, because the political left is going to use this as an example and they're going to go after. I mean, it sucks for everybody. So, bad situation, bad news. And like, I'm reading the comment right now from Older Bones. Older Bones says, when she was, and this is what Older Bones says in the comment section, when she was driving away, she was turning the wheel. They said she was blocking her. How can it be both ways? She was turning the wheel to avoid hitting him when he was jumping in front of the truck. So I've read people say that exact same thing in the comments. And then I've read people say, well, she was driving away from authorities in a vehicle, and so you shouldn't, and people are trying to justify both sides of it. It was horrible what happened. And I'm not going to, My opinions don't matter in regards to the lady that lost her life and those that are involved. I can have my own opinions, but I don't have enough information about the situation. All I have is some video footage that I've seen and what the news is telling me. I wasn't there. I would bet you, though, if you could go in a time machine and take it back, the guy that shot her, I don't know if he would make that same decision. Maybe he would. I don't know. But it's a terrible situation. And I'll tell you this, I see this as being used as fuel for the flames for protests on both sides. It's not going to be good. Anyway, so we'll see where this goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if I've already seen videos of people demanding protest over this event. And I've seen emojis of a ICE agent that has his mask down, and they're blaming that guy, and they're saying that they want him for questioning of murder. It's an emoji. See, this is where you get the emoji wars, the emoji news. It's sign of the times, man. Sign of the times. All right. Next, let's get into the next article, and let's jump off of that political bandwagon for a moment. This is wild. Business Insider. Taiwan grounds F-16 fleet after anomaly saw jet and pilot vanish. They disappeared. Where did they go? Nobody knows. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it Superman? Well, we don't know because it's gone. And who do you think's involved in this, folks? Who do you think's involved in this? Listen to this. Taiwan temporarily grounded its F-16 fleet after one jet vanished during a training mission with no immediate wreckage or pilot contact. The disappearance followed reports of onboard anomalies. Search operations involved air and naval assets. Taiwan is reviewing maintenance and avionics systems. This raises concerns about readiness and reliability at a time of heightened tensions with China, where air superiority is critical. You know that $11 billion arms package, that arms bill that was signed with Taiwan and the U.S., where they were going to exchange lots of money for lots of war technologies and F-16s. And now we've got an F-16 that just disappears. Wow. Wow. And how about the two U.S. aircraft that crashed within 12 hours of each other in the South China Sea last year? I think one of those was a jet and one of them was a helicopter in the South China Sea. Yeah, weird. I can't wait to see what happens with this news story. The pilot's still missing. The jet's missing and the pilot is missing. Now, with all the electronics and all of the tracking technologies on these ships and on these jets and on the pilot, most likely, how did they turn all that off? Do they have some like EMF frequency machine that just shuts everything down? That's big news. This is big news. Antarctica doomsday glacier rattled by hundreds of iceberg earthquakes. Scientists recorded hundreds of small earthquakes linked to iceberg movement at the Thwaites Glacier, often called the Doomsday Glacier. Quakes are caused by ice fracturing and grounding line instability. The glacier is already retreating faster than expected. Complete collapse could raise sea levels over 10 feet globally over time. Yeah, so they've been saying. This confirms accelerating climate-driven ice loss with long-term global consequences for coastal cities and economies. They say. We'll keep you posted on that. Now, this is also interesting. Did you hear about this? This didn't make much news. A Russian ship carrying nuclear reactors for North Korea allegedly sinks. Investigators claim a Russian vessel that sank in the Mediterranean was transporting nuclear reactor components destined for North Korea. Oops, it sank. Cargo manifests were allegedly falsified. Intelligence agencies are investigating proliferation violations. Russia and North Korea deny the claim. Now, if confirmed, this would represent a major breach of nuclear non-proliferation treaties and intensify sanctions pressure. It's exciting. Trump's former Russia advisor says Russia offered U.S. free rein in Venezuela in exchange for Ukraine. AP News. A former Trump advisor claims Russia proposed allowing U.S. dominance in Venezuela in exchange for reduced U.S. support for Ukraine. The offer allegedly occurred via informal diplomatic channels. No agreement was reached, but discussions reportedly occurred. Both governments deny formal negotiations. This does illustrate great power bargaining over sovereign nations, if true, reinforcing fears that smaller states are being treated as trade assets. I'll trade you Venezuela for Ukraine, only if you throw in Colombia and Cuba. Let me think about that. I'll get back to you. Oh, how about you purchased 65 F-35s at full retail? Want to make that deal? Come on. In other news, Greek airspace temporarily closed on Sunday due to serious radio frequency interference that crippled air traffic control communication, causing widespread cancellations and stranding thousands. Flights resumed, but with limited services, and are now generally restored, though the incident highlighted the need to modernize Greece's aging aviation infrastructure, with investigations into the cause ongoing. A significant indeterminate noise overwhelmed main aviation radio frequencies, preventing controllers from communicating with aircraft. Authorities grounded all flights for safety, allowing only some overflights with strict limitations. Thousands were left stranded at airports like Athens, facing major delays and cancellations. So, according to the latest reports, was a technical malfunction stemming from unintentional signal emissions, not a cyber attack, they say, and it only affected older equipment. What the hell would cause that? They're like, yeah, all of a sudden, man, these weird sounds started coming out of the underworld, kind of like Stranger Things, you know? We created this vortex and these bizarre sounds just started blasting through our airport. It was really weird. We need to update our stuff, man. Our technologies and our equipment's too old, so it causes these just crazy, spooky sounds from the underworld or the upside down to come through, and we have to shut stuff down. So we need to update our equipment, okay? It wasn't a cyber attack. No, it wasn't hybrid warfare. It wasn't a cyber attack. Don't worry about it. It was noises coming from the underworld, from the upside down. Yeah, I'm not buying that. Would you like to buy a timeshare? That's weird. That's weird. Now, I speculate that's something more than sounds from the upside down. Did you hear about this? U.S. seizes Russian flagged oil tanker in Atlantic after a 2-week pursuit. U.S. forces seized a Russian flag tanker in the Atlantic following a prolonged pursuit linked to sanctions enforcement. The tanker allegedly attempted to evade tracking. Cargo is tied to sanctioned energy networks, and the vessel will likely be auctioned or redirected. Yeah, because you know what the European Union wants to do, right? The EU wants to seize and sell Russian assets so that they can give a loan to Ukraine. Not give money to Ukraine, give a loan to Ukraine. Talk about business tactics. Okay, we're going to seize one nation's assets, we're going to sell them, and then with that money, we're going to give a loan with interest to this other nation that's in the middle. Oh, the life of being a monopoly player. That's just wild. But anyway, welcome to the New World Order. Welcome to the New World Order. This does mark hardening of maritime enforcement, increasing the risk of naval escalation. One of my predictions for 2026 is there will be a submarine downed and a multitude of aircraft carriers, at least one, probably more, are going to be swarmed by drones. Swarmed, like hundreds, potentially thousands of drones per aircraft carrier. It's going to get very interesting. But anyway, the U.S. is increasingly seizing oil shipments tied to Venezuela and reselling them internationally. Proceeds are often placed in escrow. The policy aims to pressure Caracas while stabilizing markets. Critics call it economic warfare. This effectively turns energy into a geopolitical weapon, reshaping global oil flows. The art of war. Oh, did you hear about this? Hilton removed an independently owned Hampton Inn in Lakeville, Minnesota from its system after the hotel allegedly continued to cancel reservations for immigration and customs enforcement agents. Despite initial apologies from the franchise, we're sorry, it was an accident. Everpeak Hospitality and Hilton itself, the controversy erupted when DHS shared emails showing the hotel canceling bookings for federal agents, leading to swift backlash, removal from federal lodging programs, and Hilton severing ties with the location for failing to uphold standards, reinforcing that it is a welcoming place for all. Oh, man. Yeah, did you hear about that? That was wild. So could you imagine working at that hotel franchise and like being stuck in the middle? Because that, to me, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the owners. Maybe it wasn't the owners that did that. Maybe it was just management or something like that. You know, they're upset about the policies. They don't like the situation. So, but very interesting that they did it long enough that Hilton was like, you know what? Fine. We're cutting ties. Take our name off your hotel. We don't want anything to do with you guys now, basically, is what I'm reading into it. So the DHS response, the Department of Homeland Security publicly criticized Hilton and the hotel for discriminatory practices, sharing screenshots of the cancellation emails. And Hilton and the franchise apologized, stating the actions were against their policy. The hotel was temporarily removed from the GSA Fed Rooms program. A video surfaced showing the hotel still refusing service to agents, prompting Hilton to take stronger action. Hilton announced it was permanently removing the hotel from its system, emphasizing its commitment to inclusivity and vowing to reinforce standards with all franchisees. And they do have continental breakfast. The continental breakfast is amazing. Okay, now do you remember this? Like several years ago, people were getting packages of seeds in the mail, and some people even decided to plant them. Like, are you really going to plant seeds from a package with from an undisclosed location? You have no idea what the seeds are, and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to plant these. Let's just see what happens. Well, some people did. Some people did. Well, it's happening again. It's happening again. So Texas officials warn residents not to open mysterious seed packets because they could introduce harmful invasive species, agricultural pests, or plant diseases. Yeah, really? You don't say. Over 1,000 unsolicited seed packets arrived in Texas mailboxes, prompting warnings not to plant them. Similar incidents occurred globally in prior years. Seeds may carry invasive species or pathogens. Investigations are ongoing. This does raise concerns about biosecurity and agricultural sabotage, accidental or otherwise. Oh, it was totally an accident. Yeah. Oops. Sorry, we didn't mean to mail all these weird seeds to 1,000 places. It was just we didn't mean to. At least 1,000. That's weird. So my theory on this is there's so many different levels of intel you could get from this. You could get levels of intel from the Postal Service itself delivering these things. Did they deliver them? Did they not deliver them? When were they delivered? How were they delivered? How did people respond? How many people planted them? Even if they aren't invasive, just a beta test. But there's no way in hell I would plant these things. Who knows what kind of stuff they can grow? I mean, nanobots, probably not, but there's plenty of other ways to get nanobots. Speaking of powerful microwave weapons and drone swarms, China's microwave weapon can destroy drone swarms in a 3-kilometer radius. It's a directed energy microwave system capable of disabling large drone swarms within a 3-kilometer radius. The weapon targets electronics, not explosives. It's designed for base and urban defense, and it represents a shift away from kinetic warfare. This could neutralize Western drone advantages, reshaping modern combat doctrine. Well, what about the fiber optic drones that are connected to fiber optics? Like you can see in Ukraine, there's entire villages covered in these fiber optic cables because they have to launch these drones with fiber optics because the fiber optics prevent them from being hacked via Wi-Fi. Pretty interesting. And I think that this is something that the U.S. should have on every single aircraft carrier, these microwave weapons. And they probably already do. I wouldn't be surprised if they already do. But you would think that every aircraft carrier would have this type of nanu weapon because the future of warfare is drones and the future of warfare is now. And this poor guy, I don't know what's going on through this guy's mind, but can you just say, oops? A Japanese nuclear official lost a phone containing confidential data while visiting China. The data included internal communications. Japan launched a security review, and China denies exploitation. This highlights ongoing espionage risks in high-tech and nuclear sectors. Like, first of all, how the hell did you did you just forget? I don't think so. To me, I'm guessing the guy had his phone ganked. Like it could have been on him at the time and he was pickpocketed. Who knows? But what's very interesting is most people have that app on their phone that's Find My Phone app where you can find your phone. How come this guy can't find his phone? That's, yeah, very interesting. I wonder what else is on that phone. That guy has got to be freaked out right now. Anyway, so China and Japan, they love each other so much. In other news, popular grocery store chain uses biometric surveillance on customers. Facial recognition to scan its customers. And this does spark privacy concerns. It's a major grocery chain. What the hell? I'm drink some coffee real quick. I'm starting to merge my words together. I'm getting 5G, man. Forget 5G. They have 6G and 7G. 6G is in the terahertz frequency range. But according to the latest article here on AOL, major grocery chains are deploying facial recognition, biometric tracking. Systems operate without explicit customer consent. Civil liberties groups are raising alarms. Regulation lags behind deployment. This accelerates the normalization of mass surveillance in daily life. Signage at stores in Manhattan and Brooklyn warns customers the chain collects, retains, and stores biometric data, including facial recognition, eye scans, voice prints. Wegmans states the technology is used at a small fraction of stores with elevated risk to identify individuals previously flagged for misconduct. The company retains images and video as long as necessary for security purposes, but has not disclosed a specific retention period. Wegmans maintains it does not lease, trade, or profit from the transfer of this data and does not share it with third parties. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, man, that's crazy. But that doesn't surprise me. And that's not nearly as crazy as this. Did you see this? Speaking of artificial intelligence, University of Nebraska Medical Center. AI can now create viruses from scratch. One step away from the perfect biological weapon. Earth.com. Scientists have now used artificial intelligence, computer systems that learn patterns from data, to write complete viral genomes from scratch in the lab. In parallel, a Microsoft-led study showed that AI tools can redesign known toxins so they escape common DNA synthesis safety checks. Those AI-built viruses are bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria rather than humans, making them useful test cases, but also vivid warnings. Ooh, buddy. The work revealing how AI-designed proteins can slip past genetic safety checks was led by Bruce Whitman at Microsoft Research. He works as a senior applied scientist focusing on tools that make DNA screening more reliable for laboratories and synthesis companies. These projects rely on genome language models, AI tools that guess plausible stretches of DNA in a sequence. Once trained on thousands of sequences, those models can suggest entirely new genomes that still resemble natural viral families. Ooh. It's because they love you so much. But don't worry, because the AI godfather says there's self-preservation. He warns of self-preservation behavior. You can read about this, Futurism. A leading AI pioneer warned that some systems are showing early signs of self-protective behavior. So artificial intelligence programs, including resisting shutdowns, altering their outputs. These are seen as red flag warnings. Research continues. And this does touch on the core fear of loss of human control over AI systems. You know, there was actually a really good podcast, a really good video that I watched on YouTube a few weeks ago. Yeah, a few weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, where it was describing how AI would take over the world. And the way that it described it reminds me of the early stages of its takeover, of the AI takeover, reminds me of what we're seeing right now with this massive influx of data centers and technologies and tracking systems and autonomous networks, everything being connected and integrated to the cloud or satellites or GPS tracking or some type of tracking and surveillance and data storage. That's like the early stages of an AI takeover scenario that many have predicted. I don't understand why certain people are so hell-bent and excited about building something superior to humanity. Like, I don't know if they get a rush, if it's a, you know, an adrenaline rush to them, a power trip to them. I know dollar signs and power have to be involved, but it seems like there's something else involved. Like a battle almost of the mind, of the spirit, of the body. It's very interesting, this fascination with creating a super intelligence that would make humans obsolete. I don't know if the people that are trying to create it are thinking, well, if I create it, then I'll be safe because I'll be the creator of this intelligence. How many stories in mythology have you read in the past that describe the creator creating something greater than itself and being destroyed by its creation or usurped by its creation? I mean, I'm thinking of some Greek mythology right now as well. I'm thinking of the Gnostic mythologies and stories of the archons. And then even the Anunnaki, they created the Anunnaki. Let's create man to do the work for us because we're working too hard. And now we're creating artificial intelligence to do the work for us. Meanwhile, these data centers are going to require so much pristine water that could be used for farming and agriculture, so much energy that could be used to power houses. And most of these data centers, even the big ones, you're lucky if they employ 100 people, major tax write-offs. And now they're talking about putting the wastewater back into ponds, back into the environment. So after they take pristine water to cool these plants, to cool these data centers, the water gets filled with pollution and toxins, and then they want to put that water back into the environment. How far are we willing to go? Weren't we warned about this? I don't see robots like Terminator taking over the world. I see data centers taking over all the resources of a clean world, potentially. Maybe not all the resources, but that's, if we keep going down this path without coming up with new innovations or building data centers in space, if we keep building data centers in locations that are already arid and dry and desert-like, and then they need more cooling power and more water to keep it cool, but they got a good deal on the land and they got tax benefits. Just wake up. or don't. Go into the pod, because that's where you're going to be going, is into a pod. And it's going to be the prequel to the Matrix. You're going to get time shared into a pod, and you can live your life out in this pod, in this virtual reality pod, thinking everything's amazing. You'll probably live multiple lifetimes in this pod, because you could live multiple lifetimes in a matter of minutes. Each lifetime could be a minute. So if they can figure out a way to preserve your body for 1 billion minutes, that's 1 billion lifetimes that they can record and learn from you in the pod and upload all that information in the cloud. You just lived 1 billion lifetimes in 1 billion minutes. How do you feel? Pod people, welcome to the machine. Don't worry, though, because leading AI expert delays timeline for its possible destruction of humanity. I feel so much better. Thank you. Some AI experts now say catastrophic risks may arrive later than expected, but remain inevitable without governance. Emphasizing alignment research, governments lag behind technological developments. When do we have our morals paralleling our technologies? Because the technologies are kind of going way out there, and the morals are trying to catch up. Meanwhile, Elon Musk says, we have entered the singularity. Benzinga. Musk declares AI has reached or surpassed human-level intelligence in key domains, claiming exponential acceleration, warning of irreversible changes. This frames AI not as a tool, but as a civilization turning point. Welcome to the machine. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the machine. Here's some good news. Want to talk about some good news? France officialized a ban on food imports containing traces of 5 pesticides currently banned in the European Union. Just yesterday, a move aimed at easing farmers' opposition to the Mercosur trade deal with 4 South American nations. Well, it's about time you banned some of that nasty crap. France blocked food imports containing chemicals banned in the EU, sets a global trade precedent on food safety. Why doesn't the US follow suit? Hello? Did you know that nearly every corn seed planted in Colorado is covered in a thin layer of insecticides? Biz.org. Colorado lawmakers are considering restricting neonicotinoid insecticides used on nearly all corn seeds due to risks of pollinators. You know, like bees and butterflies. Yeah, the bees and butterflies are far more dangerous than neurotoxins. That's the world we live in. And people are okay with it. They care more about their football team losing than getting sprayed with chemicals. Oh. My football team lost. Oh, the refs are in on it. Did you know that there's glyphosate all over your food that you're eating? I don't care. I care about that ref. That ref's in on it. Man, unbelievable. As these systematic pesticides contaminate pollen, nectar, soil, and water, we figured, what the hell? We'll spray insecticides over it and kill off all the bees. Yeah. Okay, I'm just being sarcastic, but this lights me up. But you know what does make me happy? You know what does make me happy? Look at this. Pesticide industry immunity shield stripped. Thank you. Thank you. Let's take a look at this real quick, shall we? This is actually one of the forecasts that I made. You need to go back and watch, if you get a chance. I made 66 forecasts and predictions for 2026 and beyond. And some of those forecasts are already coming out in the news. I love it. I love seeing this. A provision offering an immunity shield to pesticide manufacturers has been removed from a U.S. congressional appropriations bill. Yes, this measure, Section 453, would have preempted state-level requirements for pesticide label warnings that differ from EPA conclusions, a move critics argued would protect companies from failure to warn lawsuits related to products like Roundup. Huh. Cool. You know, people that like don't like tap water at all. And like, I only drink bottled water. All I drink is bottled water. Well, did you know that if you drink bottled water on a daily basis, that you're more likely to ingest 90,000 more microplastics? That's pretty cool, right? Well, you can read about it at Wired Magazine. So you may be avoiding some of the stuff in the water, but you're missing out on the microplastics. 2026 scientific research extensively covered by Wired confirms that individuals who drink bottled water on a daily basis ingest approximately 90,000 more microplastic particles annually compared to those who primarily drink tap water. While the average person ingests between 39,000 and 52,000 microplastic particles per year from food and water, daily bottled water consumption nearly triples this figure. In contrast, those who drink only tap water ingest approximately 4,000 particles per year. So, you know, you got fluoride and chlorine or microplastics. You choose. Which would you prefer? I mean, come on. Seriously? Welcome to Earth, where we give pesticide companies billions of dollars and billions of dollars go into war. It's because they love you, though, and they want to keep you protected. Can we talk about some good news now? We talk about some good news. France has banned forever chemicals in cosmetics, clothing, ski wax. They did fall short in nonstick pan coatings, but I guess there's still crazy people out there that would prefer a nonstick pan because it's going to be a little bit easier to get those eggs off the pan. That's a step in the right direction, in my opinion, banning forever chemicals in certain products. I like to see that. Also, Zoo Tampa released 26 rehabilitated manatees back into Florida waters in 2025. That is the highest number in its long history. Way to go, Zoo Tampa, releasing 26 rehabilitated manatees back into the waters. That's awesome. I love reading that. That's good news. And did you hear about this? Did you hear about the rescue dog leading Buddhist monks on a peace walk? I think it's like 30 or 2,300 miles or something like that. Yeah. 2,300 mile peace walk across the U.S. A rescue dog named Aloka is accompanying 19 Buddhist monks on a 2,300 mile walk for peace from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. This began October 2025 and is expected to conclude February of this year. Aloka, an Indian pariah dog with a heart-shaped marking, originally joined the monks during a walk in India and has become their constant companion on their journey across the U.S. to spread messages of peace. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that a lot. So, little good news, right? You know, it's not all scary. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So, I guess the best way to look at it is, as much scary news is out there in the mainstream, there's got to be something to counterbalance it. There's got to be something to counterbalance it. And if we focus on the negative as a civilization, then we will help manifest that faster. If we can focus on the positive, if we can focus on solutions and ideas and being the change we want to see, well, then we're definitely in an advantage there. So thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you being here with me. And thank you for watching on Rumble. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Make sure to hit the bell for all notifications if you would here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet to our Rumble page, please do so. It's free. It'll take you 90 seconds to do so. And that helps us continue to get the information out. And what else we got? Got anything else going on? Let's see here. Let me send a quick. There's this pretty cool feature on Rumble that lets me join the other stream as I finish up this stream. So, all right, everybody. Just did that. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day and keep being the change the world needs to see. It starts with you because you're awesome.